Hello and welcome to my channel. Out there somewhere is a little known movie called Grabbers, which features these little worm-like creatures which grow into huge monstrosities. And the only way to be safe from these things is to get drunk. So these are pretty much what they look like, and they're about a foot long, and I'm going to have a go at making them. So I'm going to need a bunch of materials, but especially foam clay, especially because I can sculpt with it and it's lightweight. So we start off with some armature wire so we can bend it into shape, and because foam clay is expensive and tinfoil is cheap, we use tinfoil to build out the body. I find it easier to use if it's folded up first, as this thickens it up. Then I wrap it around the wire in stages. With tinfoil, if you make a mistake, just unravel it and start again, and you've wasted no material. Slowly but surely the grabbers start to take shape. The tail end is quite thin, while the mouth is quite a lot thicker. I'm going to have one of these stood up, and as you can see, got very little to stand on. So I'm going to rectify that with these tire weights from Amazon. And I just wrap a few around the base of the tail. And it also helps with them being flat, as it gives increased stability. Which is exactly what they're designed to do with your car tires. So they're still doing the job they're designed for. And now for the final test to see if it stands up on its own. And it does, so that's perfect. Foil has a habit of unravelling, so I secure everything with sticky tape, but make sure the tape sticks to itself, otherwise that will also unravel. Now we can start adding the foam clay. I tear off a chunk that I'm going to use, and what I don't use I put back in the packet so it doesn't dry out. It's always easier to start off with a ball, and then just flatten it out to the shape desired. I'm starting off with the tip of the tail, which is fairly straightforward and doesn't contain much detail. I just need to make sure it's fairly flat underneath so it doesn't roll over. Because this stuff is quite sticky, I need to wet it down with water so I can smooth it out. The bodies on these creatures twist around, so I need to replicate that. Plus I also need to increase the thickness as I progress. I've also used up all the clay in that packet, so I need to open another one to continue. Going by the screen grabs, the top of the grabber seems to be fairly basic, although it does appear to have some warts, like a frog has. So I add a few of them on with the aid of some water. We're moving on to what I call the flower petal. I'm drawing the design onto a sheet of craft foam, and then with a blade I cut it out, and this will be attached to the neck of the grabber like a collar. In rest mode the spikes go backwards, in attack mode they go forward. I need to fill these out a little bit, so I add a thin layer of foam clay over everything except the tips of the spikes, as they're supposed to be really narrow. Next, using a sculpting tool, I add on some crease marks. This indicates that this area opens and closes. We won't really see the centre section on the finished creature, but I cross-hatch it anyway, just for some detail. Then using a snake of clay, I create the suction ring that goes around the outside. Once I've blended it in so you can't see the join, I go ahead and add in crease marks all across it. And once again this shows that this area expands and contracts. Next I roll up 5 small balls, and these are placed evenly around the edge, and these represent eyeballs. Yes, it's an unusual creature. Foam clay usually needs a couple of hours to be dried to the touch, and a couple of days to be rock solid. Then we can cover the connecting parts with contact cement, and once that's dry to the touch, they can be pushed together. On this particular grabber, the spikes will be pushed backwards, and the glue will hold it in place, and this means it's not in a tap position. Because the other one is upright and in an alert position, the spikes are going to be spread out so we don't glue them back. And then they should look something like this. And now we can move on to painting. The base colour for the mouth area is a pinkish red. It's going on quite thin, so we need to do more than one coat. The eyes are actually bloodshot anyway, but I added a little bit of white to them just so they stand out better. The body is covered in a dark green, and by dabbing it on you don't have any brush marks. I needed to apply a couple of coats for good coverage. Then I brushed a black wash into all the gaps before adding the flesh colour over the whole mouth area. I tried to apply it light enough so some of the red does roll through. and then I dry brush some of the fresh colour to the top of the grabber. This is so I can slowly increase its strength and blend it in. Then using a black sharpie, I dab on the pupils for the eyes. To help protect the paintwork and to give it a bit of a shine, I cover the whole thing with liquid latex. Since these are sea creatures, it's always good to go for the wet look. And once it's dried, also give it a once over with some lacquer to help enhance the sheen further. And this is the finished result. You can really see that shine as it moves about. And the random nature of the latex means that some areas are a little bit thicker than others and a little less translucent, therefore it looks like slime. And for me, that's an added bonus. Naturally they look better in a realistic location and under low light, so I'm going to do a little photo shoot and show them off. And don't forget, if you don't want to get eaten, you must get drunk. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, if I can do it, so can you.